Hey guys, Andrew McFarland here from StartAJuiceBar.com. Hope you guys are happy and healthy. Today, we are talking about 21 lessons that I've learned from being in the juice industry. This is a video we've never done before. There's going to be a lot of gems in it, so you're going to want to stay tuned to the very end. But before we dive in, if you guys are new to the channel, you don't know who I am or what we do, over the last decade, myself and our company has had the pleasure of running our own juice concept as well as helping hundreds of entrepreneurs all over the world launch and scale successful juice businesses, acai bowl businesses, smoothie concepts, healthy cafes, and more. All the information on this channel is coming from this wealth of experience. Early invitation, press the like button. I guarantee you're going to like this video and you'll like it even more if you press the like button. Thank you. Questions or comments throughout, you know where they go. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get alerted anytime we release new content like this. It's totally free. And now we are going to dive in. So as you guys know, I've been in this business for a really long time, and there's certain lessons, and this is not all the lessons. This is a lot of key ones because I've learned thousands of lessons, but I wanted to distill it into some of the most important and critical things that I've learned. I'm going to try to make this video as concise as possible and not run on for 5 hours. We'll see how we do, but let's just dive in. Okay, so what's the first lesson that I've learned being in this business? It's that everything is connected. Okay, and I don't mean in the spiritual sense, everything's connected, that too, but when it comes to business, every decision you make is connected to every other thing. So I'll just give you an example. A lot of times for me when I was getting started, I thought about, let's say, making a new recipe. And I didn't really understand what the implications were of making the decision to have a new recipe, because a recipe has components, right? Meaning ingredients. Ingredients has vendors. Ingredients has ways that it has to be stored. Vendors have mechanisms by how you can actually order from them. They have order minimums. Recipes have training that has to happen, right? There's costs involved. And so what the lesson that I learned is that there's so much more interconnectivity from what I thought were small and easy decisions that I didn't realize. You know, another thing that recipes have are equipment that's needed. Equipment has maintenance that it has to have. It has certain investments you need to make. So it's not as simple as just saying oh, I want to make this decision in isolation. It's important to really understand what is the full map of interconnectedness of all the decisions that you make are. And this can be difficult to understand if you're new in this business. So hopefully this helps you think about something as simple or seemingly as simple as having a new recipe, but really understanding what the implications are as a whole. So that's the first lesson. What's the second lesson that I've learned? Marketing and branding is more important than product. Now, so many people, so many of us, and me too, I was a victim of this, are so focused on product. I want to have an amazing menu. I want these recipes to be great. And yes, your recipe should be great. Your customer service should be great. Your business should be great. But having a great brand and great marketing is way more important than having a great product. Why? Because these things precede your product. There are so many businesses out there, and there's so many amazing products that you've never heard of. Why? Because there are other companies that branded themselves and marketed themselves better than this amazing product that you just don't even know exists. And so this is why a lot of times the perceptual value of the product is actually more important than the value of the product, because people will only be able to make decisions on the perception in step one. And if you get those customers to come into your business and they like your product enough to come back again, they're not even going to have space and bandwidth to think about someone else who might even have a better product, but their marketing and branding isn't good enough to get people in the store. So that's the second lesson. And I could talk about that for a very, very long time, but I hope you got the point. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. What's the third lesson that I've learned? The third lesson that I've learned is that smaller isn't easier, right? A lot of you guys getting started, and I was once again in this situation, are thinking, I want to start my business small because it's going to be easier. Now, this isn't always the case. Yes, it can be less expensive, but in terms of actual ease, meaning how much energy and time and work does it take from you, I found in my own experience that actually the larger my businesses have gotten, the easier it is for me. Why? Because I have more people to delegate to. I have more financial resources to hire better people to delegate to. When your business is small, and in my instance, I started with a juice truck, I had only a business partner, and then eventually we had a couple employees, but I had to take on more of the workload because there's just certain things that have to happen in the business. So smaller isn't always easier. Most oftentimes in my experience, it's actually harder. So that's lesson number 3. What's lesson number 4? It's kind of in the same vein, but different. It's that cheap isn't always better. Sometimes you might hear cheap is expensive. And what does that come down to? It comes down to all the places where we think about saving money when we're actually losing money, and losing money in the upside. So a quick couple stories I'll share with you. For me, in the very beginning of starting my first storefront, this was after we had the truck for about a year, I was thinking, okay, I have a tight budget, but I also don't want to spend a lot on equipment. Let me go ahead and invest in some used refrigeration. This is cheaper. But guess what? It turned out to be the wrong decision, because 90 days is usually the warranty they give you. And on the 80th day, my refrigeration breaks. I've got thousands of dollars worth of inventory, prep juices in the refrigerator. That goes bad. I have to close my store down for the whole day. So I lose those sales too. And what I realize is that, yes, I might have saved myself in the short term a couple $1,000s, maybe $1,000, $1,500, not much. But in the long term, when I actually had my refrigeration break, I lost close to $4,000 or $5,000. So peace of mind is really important, but also understanding in many situations, cheap is expensive. Okay. So that's what I'll leave you with, is understanding that sometimes you have to make more of an upfront investment, whether that's in your guidance and mentorship and business development and your branding and your marketing, so you have more upside potential in the long run. Because it's not just about how much money you save, but it's about how much money can you make if you make the right investments. So that's the fourth lesson. What's number 5? Systems, systems, systems. Okay. There's so much assumption in business. I talk to so many business owners, and they don't have processes around how do you open the store? How do you close the store? How do you do inventory? How do you receive produce, right? There should be systems for everything. How do customers and your staff communicate with customers? Okay, systems, systems, systems. This is what allows businesses to run. You're in the manufacturing business. You want to make sure everything is organized and is clear. And yes, I do understand it can be sometimes difficult to come up with these systems if you're new to this industry. And that's why we're here, and obviously we'll help you. Reach out to me personally at Andrew@StartAJuiceBar.com if you want to discuss how we can support you with your business. And I also want to mention now, it's probably a good opportunity, that these lessons aren't really in any particular order, say that they're more important. There are many lessons actually at the end of this list that are very, very important. So you're going to want to stick around for that. But I don't have all of them in a sequence of saying from least important to more important. I'm sharing them as they're here. So that's lesson number 5. What's lesson number 6? It's that good employees are worth their weight in gold. Okay. You are going to have a whole number of people come to apply to your business that are working for you. Definitely get rid of bad employees as soon as possible. Someone also said, hire slowly, fire quickly, right? You don't want to have bad employees in your environment because that disrupts the culture of your company. And good employees are worth their weight in gold. So you want to make sure you nurture your employees. You want to make sure you take care of them, because these are the backbone of your business. Your business can't run without them, like many other things. But you also just want to make sure that your employees feel appreciated, that you acknowledge them, that if you find people who have good experience, good resumes, and they're going to show value in your business, keep them around, because once again, cheap is expensive. Don't find lesser prepared and lesser experienced employees and lesser quality employees thinking that you're saving yourself $1 or $2 per hour, and realize that you're losing individuals who can make your business run very smoothly. Customer service would be great. Quality of the product would be great. Invest in your employees. Okay. So that's the next lesson. Now, what's lesson number 7? It's that the customer isn't always right. Now, I know we always hear in customer service, the customer is always right, but I don't personally believe that. I believe that there are some people, and it's going to be a small group of people, but there's going to be some people who you don't want to be your customers. Meaning, if a customer comes in and says, you should charge me X amount of dollars. I want to modify this drink this way. You should be able to do that for me. That doesn't work. That doesn't mean that they're right. They might, like I kind of mentioned earlier, they might tell you all kinds of things that you should do with your business, but that doesn't mean they're right. And you can respectfully decline to take on and proceed with certain requests that customers have. You might even get to the point where you just say, hey, you know what? I just don't think my business is for you. I'm going to just politely request that, you don't visit us anymore. It's just the way that it is. Not all customers are right. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not things to learn from many customers, that if a customer's giving you feedback, there's not things that you can take heed of, but don't always believe that the customer is right. Sometimes there's customers who just straight disrespectful, and you need to protect your staff and your community from individuals who just aren't aligned with your business vision and the way that you're choosing to run your business. Okay. So what's the next lesson? Is that growing a business is not just more of the same. And what do I mean by this? This could be maybe a little bit abstract. What I mean is that when I went from having a truck to a store, it wasn't just we're doing the same thing we're doing in a location, but more. It was very different. When I went from having one store to two stores, it wasn't like, oh, we're just running two stores now, so we're just doing exactly the same thing. No, the entire organization shifts as you grow, okay? When you go from having, let's say, 2 employees to having 10 employees or 12 employees, or you go from doing, let's say, 100,000 a year to 500,000 a year to $1 million a year to $2 million a year, the organization within itself has to change because it's not the same. You can't just keep doing what you're doing, but more, because there's so many other systems in place that you have to have. There's so many things that you will have to do that you weren't doing. And there's many things that you were doing that you'll have to stop doing and delegate to other people because it's just more energy in the system. And so understand that as you grow your business, you have to think about your business differently. You have to fundamentally change really the foundation of how your business runs in order to maintain more growth. So as you have multiple stores, you don't just have general managers, you'll have district managers. When you go from running the business as a solopreneur and then hiring employees, now you need training systems. You need to have other management. You need to know how to manage the managers. There's so many things that come into play when you grow a business, and it's not just doing the same thing, but more. That is not the case. Okay, so that's lesson number 8. What's lesson number 9? Lesson number 9 is that your menu doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be adaptive, right? It's good to have a good menu up front, but also know that until you field test your menu, you don't 100% know what your customers want. And so you need to learn, you need to adapt your menu. We work with a lot of clients and sometimes they feel a little bit overwhelmed when it comes to putting their menu together because they think my menu has to be perfect. Well, perfect is a perception. Perfect is subjective. Perfect to you might not be perfect to me, it might not be perfect to your customers. So while it is important to have a good general semblance and idea of what your community and your customer base wants, you will never perfect your menu until you get feedback on your menu. To realize that it's more about how good you are at adapting your menu and also your business overall than it is about thinking that you have this idea of the perfect menu to begin with, because that doesn't really exist truthfully. So that's lesson number 9. What's lesson number 10? Lesson number 10 is do not listen to the loud minority, okay? You are going to have customers come into your business that have all kinds of ideas on what you should do, what your opening hours should be, what you should charge for your product, how you should change your recipes, who you should hire, who you should fire, how you should decorate your store. There is never a lack of opinions that this loud minority is going to have, but don't adapt your business for them. And the reason this is very important is because when you have a loud minority, you think that they are speaking for the majority, but they might not be. And they're just more vocal. So sometimes when we only have, let's say, 2 or 3 customers, but they're telling us the same things, and we're like, whoa, okay, interesting. Is this what all of our customers feel, but they just don't say anything? No. And you don't know, because this is tricky when it comes to listening to feedback. Sometimes you have to really have a sensitive ear to be able to understand what the perspectives are of the majority versus the minority. But don't change your business for what I call the loud minority, because there are going to be a few customers that have opinions about everything that you should do, but it might not actually benefit the whole. So you have to be thinking about the greater majority of people in your business than the minority of people who are coming in but are just very vocal about what they think you should and shouldn't do. Okay, that's the 10th lesson. What's lesson number 11? It's that marketing flirts, but branding converts. What do I mean by this? I did a whole video on this on the YouTube channel. So if you want me to go deeper into it and you want to learn more about it, search the YouTube videos and check out this video. But I'm just going to touch on it briefly. It's that a lot of times people think a lot about marketing, but they don't realize that it's better to have a great brand first and foremost. Because marketing, what is the idea of marketing? Marketing is the analogous to I'm at a party and I shout and I say, hey, everybody, look at me. Okay, now I've got everyone's attention. That's marketing. But guess what? Whether people trust me or listen to what I have to say is going to be a lot about who people know me to be, how I present myself, why am I getting their attention? It's all about my brand. It's all about what comes next. So marketing is just going to help get people's attention, but whether you get their attention and they like your business, they like what they have to see, they like what they hear, they like what they feel, has everything to do with your brand. Okay? So marketing isn't everything. And also, the last thing I'll say on it before I move on is that if you've got a great brand, it's going to cost you a lot less money with marketing. Okay, because people will convert more because they trust your brand. They like what they see, they like what they feel. Whereas if you've got a poor brand, it's going to cost you more and more in marketing because you're not going to convert as much people come and purchase from you. Okay, so that's lesson number 11. What's lesson number 12? It's that you need to invest in the right equipment so you can save on labor. I see all too often individuals try to save money on equipment, which means, yes, I'm saving money up front, but they lose money in the long run. I remember there was a gentleman who had a juice bar close to the first location that I had, and we built a friendship, and we were talking for a little while, and he was talking about his business, and we were just kind of going through the numbers. I was like, okay, what do your numbers look like? And I found out, I was like, your labor's really, really high, and I noticed you're still working in the store. He started his business a little bit after I did, but I hadn't been working in my store for a long time, and I was like, I go to my store 5 minutes once a month, and we're doing good. We're clearing close to 20 grand a month. How are you doing? What's going on? And he's like, yeah, it's really tough. Making the juice is really hard. And I was like, what kind of equipment do you have? It turned out that he had 4 really small Norwalk juicers, and this is a business that's doing decent sales. And he's like, yeah, I can't leave the business because it's just a lot of labor. I was like, why don't you get better equipment? Why don't you make the investment to actually have proper juicers? He's like, oh, I don't know. I just thought it was easier to run it this way. I'm like, this is why your labor's through the roof. You don't have the right equipment. If you have the right equipment, you can run things smoothly. But this is the problem, is a lot of times people try to save money up front by being cheap with their equipment, but it ends up costing them in the long run. And so, yes, you might save $5,000 or $10,000 up front, but guess what? Your labor is going to cost you $50,000 to $100,000 at the end of the year, depending on how much your business is making, right? Because labor, if it's run well, it should be 25% of your total sales or less. But if you're running your labor at 30, 35%, right? Just do the math on $100,000, 25% labor, that's $25,000. On that same $100,000, that's $35,000. And $100,000 is very low for these businesses. You're talking about businesses that are going to do $500,000. So just extrapolate that outwards and realize it's a big deal to make sure you have the right equipment so you can run your labor as efficiently as possible. Okay, so that's this next lesson. What's lesson 13? It is to keep it simple, especially with your menu early on. I've had too many experiences in my own companies where in the very beginning, when I was more of a novice and naive, where my menus were so complicated, and then only to have to cut the menu down. And then once again, made my menu so complicated again, and then had to reduce it and cut it down. You'll notice there's a trend, right? With the biggest businesses in the world, food businesses, whether it's Chipotle, it's McDonald's, it's Burger King, you can name them, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, their menus actually are quite simple. That's for a reason. It's not a coincidence. So keep your menu simple, but also keep your business simple. You have forever to complicate things, right? Don't start at 100%, right? You wouldn't run a marathon and start running full speed because you'll burn yourself out. It's the same thing too with the complexity of your operations. Don't start with your most complex form. Build your way up to that. Get some momentum, right? Once you have momentum, you'll know what you can take on and you'll know what you're ready for. You'll know what you need to, hold off on. So keep it simple, especially in the beginning. Now, what's number 14? What's lesson number 14? It is never forget your why. Okay? It can be really easy as you're going through this journey and you're thinking about all the to-dos, right? You get very task-oriented. In the very beginning, you're passionate. You have an idea. You have inspiration. Why you want to do it? You want to help your community. You want to change your family. You want to stop working for, a company. You want to work for yourself. Don't forget your why, because there are going to be moments where it probably gets really challenging. And if you remember your why, it will continue to inspire you to move through those challenging moments so you can find that inspiration. I remember for me, my big why is I wanted to help people get healthy. I really did. And continue to, right? And now I want to help people get healthy through helping people like you. But I remember there was a moment where a guy came to me and said, and there was a number of occasions, but one that stuck out to me was a guy said, hey, I actually had cancer and I started coming to your juice business. I didn't tell anybody, but I ended up bringing my cancer into remission just by coming to your juice bar and consuming, the right proper nutrients, changing my diet. And I just want to thank you for all that you're doing. And that was the moment where I was like, yes, everything that I've gone through, everything that challenged me made it worth it when I got that feedback, because that was why I was doing what I was doing. And so know that some people will tell you that you've really changed their lives. Some people may not tell you, but remember your why. Know that you are there and you're helping people. What you're doing is meaningful. So never forget your why. All right, lesson number 15 is sometimes you have to let your employees make mistakes, okay? For me, in my journey, I was very impatient with my employees, wanting everything to be perfect because I felt like if my employees made a mistake or they didn't communicate with the customers correctly, that it was going to ruin my business. And so I was less patient than I am now. And then I learned, actually, I have to think about all relationships with employees, just like you would with humans, as a marathon. It's a long-term relationship. And so as long as you feel like the employees you have the aptitude for growth, then you have to sometimes allow them to make mistakes so that they can really learn. They can feel the tension, they can feel the pressure, and that will make sure that they don't make the mistakes in the future. So letting employees make mistakes, the right kinds of mistakes, right? Not things that are going to ruin your business, because if you find out, hey, this is not something that needs to be there, like I said earlier, fire quickly, hire slowly. But in situations where you feel like maybe I can find a little bit more forgiveness for what this employee did, so that way they can learn the lesson and we can continue to move on. And assuming that that happens, then continue to move on. And now moving on to the next lesson. What's lesson number 16? Lesson number 16 is it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's all about how much money you keep. Okay, I shared a story in another video. There was another woman that I knew in the community in California who had a plant-based business. They were open for quite a while, but there came a point where she had some business partnerships that fell apart, and the people who were doing more of like the operations side were gone. And I was just talking to her because she needed some help about her numbers once again. And this is a business that was doing, I think, close to $2 million a year in revenue. So not a company that's not making money on the top line, but what it turned out is her expenses on the bottom line were too high. She was running negative because she couldn't manage her labor and she couldn't manage her food costs. So while it is important to make money on the top line, it's very, very important, but it's not important if you can't save enough money to be profitable. So don't think about just about how much money you're making. Always think about managing your expenses. How much money are you keeping? So what's lesson number 17? This is a big one. This is a very, very big one. I want you guys to pay attention. Is you will pay for your ignorance with your time, your energy and emotion, and your money. Okay? For me, when I started, I thought it was going to be simpler than it was. I didn't realize how many intricacies were involved and what it meant to actually run these businesses well, because any person can start a business. Any person can throw a juice bar together, kind of. But there's a huge distinction between doing it well, doing it profitably, and doing it in a way that actually makes a lot of money. And I had to pay for my ignorance with my emotion, my time, and my money. Okay, it ended up costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars more than it should have if I knew what I was doing, because I didn't. And there was no panel like this. There were no companies like ours that could help you from start to finish. I had to figure all these things on my own, and it was very expensive and it was very stressful, because when you're burning through money and you're not making money, that takes a toll on you. You're not going to sleep as well. When you're, not doing things efficiently, that's going to take more of your time and create more stress. So you will pay for your ignorance with your time, your money, and your emotion. There's no way around it. The way around it is to actually not be ignorant and get mentorship and, reach out to us if you want to, so that we can support you with your process. But there's no way that you're going to mistakenly fall into success. That almost never happens. People who are successful and businesses who are successful are not there by accident. Understand it's very, very intentional. Okay, so that's lesson number 17. What's lesson number 18? Lesson number 18 is that one customer actually equals 10 customers. What do I mean by this? It means that one person, if they have a great experience, they're going to tell 10 people. And that same person, if they have a horrible experience, guess what? They're going to tell at least 10 people. This is why it's important early on to understand that and treat every single customer that comes into your business with care, with attentiveness, with the understanding that if you can blow their minds with your customer service and everything that they experience there, they're going to tell more people and they're going to come back. So not only do you retain that one customer, you're going to gain more customers as we talk about word of mouth marketing. It's very, very, very important. Okay. So that's that next lesson. What's lesson number 19? Somewhat related to your relationship with customers. And it is that it's easier to get old customers to come back and spend more money than it is to get new customers. And when I say that it's easier, what I mean is that it's oftentimes less expensive, because when you have customers that are already familiar with your business, if you can market to them appropriately through email, through Instagram, etc., they like your company. They think, oh yeah, I want to go back there. There's already lubrication in that relationship. There's less friction. Whereas if you have old customers, or I should say, if you have customers who haven't been into your business before, it's a lot harder for them because they already have routines, times that they go to work, and they're trying to fit you into their schedule. Oh, maybe they go to another juice bar already, or they make smoothies for themselves in the morning. Who knows what it is? But it's always more difficult to get new customers than it is to get old customers to come into your business more often and to spend more money. All right, lesson number 20. You have to understand how to analyze feedback. And I don't just mean vocal feedback from customers. I mean, everything that happens in your business and in your life is feedback. How you're feeling, how much money you're making, what kind of products you're selling, right? How much turnover you have, the level of happiness that your staff and employees have, on and on and on. It's all feedback, right? Coming to you as information as to teaching you what's working and what's not working. And the reason I bring this up is that the problem is a lot of times people don't understand how to interpret the feedback, which we can also say is a symptom. It's like you walk into a doctor's office and you got symptoms. You're like, oh, I have a cough. Well, why do you have a cough? Do you have lung cancer? Do you have COVID? Do you have, something else? There could be all kinds of reasons you have a cough. Were you sitting in a dusty environment? But we have to figure out why that is in order to solve the problem. So it's the same thing in your business. You're getting feedback. You have symptoms in your business that will come up. But if you don't understand why certain things are happening, you can't solve problems, but you also can't create opportunities. So it's not just about negative things, but it's like, oh, I realize that customers really like these kinds of products. Let's double down on that, right? Customers really love events. Okay, let's double down on that. So feedback comes both in positive and negative forms. You have to understand how to interpret it in order to make the right decisions on how your business should evolve. And now, you guys have been so great. If you're still here with me in this video, we're at 21, the last lesson of all. And this lesson is important because it's all about decision making, okay? And what is the statement? Is that you must understand your risk-reward relationship in all situations as much as possible. Why? Because you're going to be riddled with decisions. Financial decisions, decisions to expand the business, and there's going to be a different amount of risk and reward in all these decisions. Some are going to be asymmetrical for the upside and the downside. What do I mean by this? I mean, there's going to be, for example, many clients who work with us, they understand, okay, it is an investment to have your company develop my entire business, but my risk reward is much higher, meaning the amount of money that I'm going to invest in having you guys help us is minuscule in terms of how much your business is going to help us succeed, right? So we have a much higher upside potential than downside risk, meaning the amount of money that they're going to save by trying to do it on their own, and maybe they fail and all these things is much lower than how much money they can make in succeeding in their business. So this is why people invest in working with us, for example. But this is going to come up with so many aspects within your business, whether it's investing in equipment, and you go, okay, well, what's my downside? Okay, my risk is this piece of equipment could break. What's the likelihood of that happening? It's probably pretty low. My risk is I could not have the sales that I need. Well, I've already have a confirmation of that. Okay, so me investing in the right piece of equipment, you can actually know right away how much money it's going to save you if you calculate the labor cost that you're losing. So you know what your risk reward ratio is in making that kind of decision. And that's just another example. There are going to be many, many, many decisions you make in investing in marketing. What's your risk reward there? It's going to be investing in the right employees. What's your risk reward? Okay, with employees, I can hire someone who's a little bit more expensive, but what if they don't follow through? That's a risk. But I can also fire that person if I need to. So what's the downside? But my upside is they can, do really great things for my business. This is a great way of thinking about making decisions because it helps create a little bit more coherence and sobriety in understanding, as opposed to just being emotional and going, oh, I just doesn't feel like I want to do that. You have to go, oh, let me be a little bit more analytical and think, what's the likelihood of things going towards the negative? And if they do, what's my loss versus if things move towards the positive? And if they do, what's my upside, right? It's called risk reward. So these are 21 really powerful lessons that I've learned throughout this entire process. And as I mentioned earlier, if you guys want support and you're ready to dive in, you want to take starting your juice business seriously, reach out to me personally at Andrew@StartAJuiceBar.com. Happy to discuss how we can support you. We've got a full spectrum development firm. We can help you with everything from start to finish and beyond. And I hope this has been really helpful, really valuable. Put it in the comment box below. What was your favorite lesson? What was the most insightful thing that you learned throughout this 21 lessons that I've shared? And then lastly, a few announcements. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. Hit the notification bell so you get alerted when we release new content. Like the video if you haven't liked it yet, because I'm sure if you're still here, you must have liked the video. So press the like button, it's free. And then lastly, follow us on Instagram at StartAJuiceBar. We've got exclusive content, exclusive giveaways just there. And then listen to our podcast. It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify. It's called the Juice Bar Experts Podcast. That's all for today. I'll see you guys soon. Hope you guys have been enjoying the video content. If you are inspired to launch your juice business, but you're not exactly sure what steps to take, for you, we've created a free ebook, 15 Steps to Starting a Juice Business from Scratch. This is going to give you a high-level overview of everything you need to do from where you are now all the way to opening your business. Now, if you want to go even deeper, we've created an online course, the Juice Bar Master Blueprint. This is going to go into great detail into every aspect of starting your business, everything from branding to menu development to finding the right location, the equipment that you need, and so much more, all the way to launching your business. There's links for both of these in the description below. I know you're going to find a lot of value out of them. As always, hope you guys are happy and healthy, wishing you a lot of success, and I'll see you at the next video.